Great Scott! Hello everyone and welcome to Shelf Space. I'm your host Ross13 and today we are looking at the Transformers Cross Back to the Future Gigawatt. This is the second Transformers crossover figure that we've had on this channel, and I am super excited to show it off to you guys because Back to the Future was one of my favorite movie franchises back in the day. Before we get into the figure, let's take a quick look at the box though. So we got very cool illustration of Gigawatt. Remember, it has to be pronounced Giga. We got the Transformers Back to the Future crossover logo, regular Transformers logo. In fact, the overall box is very much a G1 Transformer box, a lot like Ectotron, and I just absolutely love that. We have the old Hasbro logo there, Gigawatt there. Nice photograph of the character. This is probably a CGI render. On the back we have his tech specs. Let's bring that up there. Function: time traveler. You're never out of time when you're a time machine. When Marty and Doc Brown need a ride through time, Gigawatt is ready to fly. And then up here we got the Transformers logo and the Back to the Future 35th anniversary logo. On the back here we have the scene where the DeLorean is being pulled out of the semi-truck that it was being transported in. Be kind of cool if we got like a figure or something of that as well. Up on top we have like the standard G1 sort of pseudo instructions on how to transform the figure, or at the very least just illustrating that the figure transforms. Down here, just product shots, usual warning stuff, and that's it. Let's go ahead and take a look at the actual figure now. Real quick, I just thought I'd show what everything looks like out of the box. We got the figure in plastic shell, and actually a rather nice looking insert. I think this might have been, it's supposed to be assembled like this or something like that. But you got some detailed schematics or something of the DeLorean. Yeah, it's just a straight DeLorean because you don't see all the modifications for the time machine. So I wonder if they actually got this from DMC's archives or what. And then we got the instructions, which, while blue and black, are very reminiscent of old school Transformer instructions. And that's kinda cool. Okay, back to the figure for real this time. And here it is. And this is very cool, at least to me. Just like with the Ecto 1, I never actually had a toy or anything like that of the DeLorean or the time machine. So actually having a physical version of it that I can hold in my hand and play with is super, super cool. And the details on this are pretty phenomenal. I don't know how much it comes off on camera, but you have this sort of brushed metal effect that's actually, it's molded into the plastic, which makes it a little unfortunate that he doesn't have it on like these parts, which I'm guessing are translucent plastic that is painted. Though speaking of paint, this guy seems to be just covered in it. You see that glossy finish on there? I'm fairly certain that is actually paint, especially considering it matches up with what we see over here. And you can sort of see the base plastic on some of the parts underneath. Which, yes, he does have visible head syndrome and visible everything else. But the details are pretty cool. It probably could use a little bit more detail paint, but it's a retail toy. I can understand, for the mass market at that. So I can understand why it is lacking in some places. I think the only thing I don't care about on this is he has 3 accessories. He has a gun, which has a nice little storage unit, and then he has this thing, which is cool from the first movie, the little wire catcher thing, and then the Mr. Fusion thing. And these two have no official place to go in vehicle mode. They came up with a storage place for his gun that's out of the way, and it looks like they had plans or something, because if you see, there's this little gap there, so it looks like maybe at one point this was supposed to store underneath. And I looked at the instructions, maybe I'm missing something, but it doesn't seem to indicate anything, and I just can't, for one, I can't get this to clip in there. And if I get this with this thing pointing down, This part is sticking up. If I get it on the side, nothing quite fits right. It feels like they had a plan and either it got budgeted out or they just never followed through, and that's a little upsetting. And this, I mean, you can put it on here, but if you want the regular movie 1 DeLorean, this doesn't go there. You can pop it inside those, so at least there's that. It's just, this really could have used some sort of storage option. That feels a bit nitpicky, though. This is a very good representation of the DeLorean. Interesting enough, doesn't have the DeLorean markings on there, so I'm wondering if they made changes to it so they don't have to pay anything to the current version of DMC. I know the company doesn't exist anymore, but another company like bought the license to their name and some of their factories or warehouses or something, and basically have parts to make new, or at the very least repairs to existing DeLoreans. Oh, and as a proper DeLorean should, you do have at least the semblance of the gull wing doors, which was the coolest aspect of the DeLorean, if you ask me. I just thought this was super cool. I don't care if it's impractical or something. Oh, you even have some molded detail inside. That's very nice. Now, granted, there's no actual interior in here because, you know, it has to be a Transformer and it's not a larger, more expensive one. This guy is very much a deluxe class Transformer. Though you do have to pay a little bit more for him because he is, you know, a licensed toy. Plus, they've put a little bit more effort onto him. Quick comparison, speaking of deluxe toys, here he is next to, and this is kind of a spoiler, or maybe not, depending on what order videos get released, of something. This is Siege Sideswipe G2 colors with some extra stuff. And this guy is basically based off of the Siege Sideswipe mold. Write down that they share some parts, not the shoulder specifically, but the arms, parts of the chest, and just the general transformation is very, very similar. They're approximately the same size, though this guy is a little bit bigger. Though I think more of it is just the mass is kind of redistributed some. It's kind of cool seeing these two together. And I did mention it, you can, I guess, you can put this part in here so you can recreate the clock tower scene. And then you can also put the Mr. Fusion reactor right back here. Come on. Doesn't peg on very securely, but there we go. That's odd. I was messing with it earlier and it pegged on securely, but and if you want, you can also tilt the wheels down. Wow, that just went flying. Okay, so add that to the list of things. The Mr. Fusion thing isn't, at least on my copy, is not staying down. Now, the wheels on the front, they actually have a couple of hinges, and the ones that you want to use are more inside like that. So you can duplicate the flying version of the DeLorean. Which means that the only version of the DeLorean that this doesn't recreate is any of the versions that were seen in Back to the Future 3. So you don't have the version with the changed up time circuits that were made with the 1950s technology, or the white wall tires, or the version that was changed up for when they were going and trying to get Marty back to the future, or the present, when he was stuck in the Old West. All right, let's go ahead and get this guy transformed. And there he is. Looking very, very cool. He's very monochrome, but that makes the few pieces of color he does have pop. I think the only thing I don't really care for his design is I don't like the time circuit dates being on the chest. I understand why they put them there, but they're a lot bigger than they would be inside the actual vehicle, and it just seems silly to have this kind of thing out here. The flux capacitor being outside is also a little weird, but that I can live with a little bit more than this. But I'm not going to complain too much because this is a nice looking figure. I dig it quite a bit. So now what we can do is we can plug the Mr. Fusion onto the back of his gun, giving him a Mr. Fusion powered gun, which is kind of cool. And this uses this 5mm peg, I think it's 5mm, and can plug that on there. And now a place for everything and everything in its place. It's kind of sticking off panel there, but this looks pretty darn cool. I know I keep saying that, but I am super happy with this figure. He does have a lot of details that maybe could be brought out with paint, but I'm not going to stress too much about those. I may see about a Toy Hacks label set or something like that. Doubt I'm going to worry about it too much, though. Let's go ahead and compare him to Sideswipe that we saw earlier. Oh, and I just noticed, so apparently there are pegs and holes right here, so you can lock things down a little bit better. And the instructions say that this piece is designed to go down all the way like that. This part right here, I don't know if you saw that. This part rotates like that. Okay, now we're ready for comparisons. So here he is next to Sideswipe. Let's adjust the camera so we can see these guys a little better. So you can see a lot of similarities. The legs are almost identical, with the exception of the lower legs. Lower arms, parts of the stuff inside for like the skeleton and stuff like that. So yeah, this guy is very much a heavy retool of Sideswipe, but he wears it well and it does a good job. I think the only better version of a DeLorean Time Machine Transformer I've seen is the one that was on that t-shirt that was sold with loot boxes for a bit. But yeah, even the head actually has a lot of Sideswipe cues on it, with the front cheek armor pieces sticking out like they do, and even kind of the pointed ear things, even the way he has a bit of a visor thing going on there. Articulation wise, pretty darn good. Universal joints at the shoulder, bicep swivel, elbow, that gives you a little bit, gives you exactly 90 degrees. Waist rotation, nothing in the chest. Head is on a ball socket joint, can kick up, can kick back, can kick out. Not much of a knee bend though. And you do have ankle tilts. So, pretty decent, particularly for a modern Transformer. The use of universal joints is kind of an interesting thing to me because I'm used to Transformers being filled with ball socket joints. But starting with the current trilogy of toy lines, they started moving away from ball socket joints in favor of these universal joints, which is kind of cool in some ways, kind of meh in others, particularly if you're a customizer. But yeah, he's a good figure. A little bit more expensive than your standard deluxe, but I think you get what you pay for. Plus, he is such a cool, interesting concept and a representation of a cultural icon of the 80s. And yeah, I cannot recommend this guy enough. If you guys can find him for a good price, or at the very least for retail, go for it. Don't pay scalper prices, mainly just because you don't want to support scalpers. This guy is becoming a lot more easy to find. I got in on a pre-order window through Walmart. Actually, no, it wasn't even a pre-order window. I just managed to find him in stock on Walmart.com and ordered him and had him shipped over. I think I used some of my Christmas money for this guy. And yeah, I am super excited to have this guy. Alright, I think I've rambled long enough. This has been a review. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all that fun YouTube stuff. Check the description below for links to my storefront where you can get official shelf space t-shirts and more. And yeah, thank you again, and I'll see you next time you invade my shelf space.